Swasadhyam Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Pada Kamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavanshcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagam Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusutai Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, Hindi and English?
Actually, both.
Both? तो थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा. I know I've been accused of talking from both ends of my mouth, but
शुरू हिंदी में फिर English. Some people speak English.
oh, that's true. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, I'll in English.
He
That's
would
fine.
kill me.
Because I just noticed Prabhu is here as well. So. No, that's okay. I'll in English.
I must be getting smaller.
So, before I start, first of all, I want to thank Mataji for arranging this program. This is a characteristic of Vaishnavas. When something good happens, they think of Krishna. When something bad happens, they think of Krishna. So either way, not only they remember Krishna themselves, they help everyone else to remember Krishna. I also wanted to thank Sachidanand Prabhu, I think he may have gone upstairs, for singing this wonderful bhajan, Jai Radhe Jai Krishna, because this has a very special meaning for me personally, because a few years ago my mother passed away in the month of March actually, last month actually, a few years ago. As my brother was singing this bhajan, she was chanting, it was Ekadashi day actually, and she left her body. So this song not only brings me to Vrindavan, it also has a very special meaning for me, so I just wanted to thank you. Mataji asked me to speak for a few minutes, and I was thinking about what I'm going to say. It reminded me of a particular episode in Mahabharata, where the four brothers of Yudhishthira Maharaj have just died from insisting on drinking water in the pond. And he shows up, and before he tries to get the water and he's wondering how come his brothers died, he's stopped by a yaksha. And the yaksha says, you have to first answer my questions. If you don't, then like your brothers, you'll also die. So Yudhishthira said, that's fine, so go ahead and ask questions. So a number of questions were asked. The relevant question was, relevant to this, in this context, was, what is the most surprising thing in the world? And Yudhishthira Maharaj, almost not thinking about it, I think he just said, the most wonderful, amazing thing is that every day, many, many people die, yet those who are still alive think that will never happen. And when we start thinking about that, that is so true. And again, as I was thinking more about this, I don't know why, but I kept thinking about all the news items I've seen when some head of state has died, and other heads of state show up, But what do? They arrange meetings with each other so they can talk business. There's nobody lamenting the passing away of that person. I have personally seen in the crematorium, especially in India or even here, people talking about other things. Right there, I mean, not even waiting for the cremation to complete. Right there talking about other business, as if that business is the most important thing. So somehow I'm not talking about people in this room, people in the world, have become so conditioned in terms of sense gratification, in terms of identifying with this body, that it's very difficult for them to perceive the moment that they will no longer have this body. And as I was thinking about that, I said, okay, so what does all that mean? And that's when the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam comes to mind, where the major question was from Maharaj Parikshit. What should a person who's going to leave his body in 7 days do? In one sense, Maharaj Parikshit was extremely fortunate in that he knew he has 7 days to live. No one else has even that idea. So Parikshit Maharaj was wondering, what can I do in 7 days? What about those of us who may not even have 7 days? Or don't know how many weeks we have? And we see example after example after example of people suddenly passing away. So what to do? So obviously, Shukadeva Goswami answered it very nicely. He established a few points before he actually answered the question. So first he established what is our duty? What is our supreme duty as human beings? And he said, Savai punsam paro dharmo jato bhakti yadokshya ahatuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. He said, our supreme occupational duty is to simply serve Krishna, but serve him for his pleasure, not our pleasure, and serve him constantly. Constantly is very difficult. Not that serving him for his pleasure is not difficult, but even more difficult is serving him constantly because we are all wrapped up in our everyday lives. I got to take care of my kid, I got to take care of my job, I got to take care of my wife, I got to take care of this, that, my investments, and all those things. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, somehow we have to get over that. But how? We have so many impurities in our heart which are making us or forcing us to identify with this body and worry about things material. What to do? Then he gave a very simple solution. He says, Nashtu prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat seva. Bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati nashti. He has simply become engaged in serving devotees every day. And simply engage in reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day. By doing that, we will develop, anybody knows what nashtiki means? Nashtiki means absolutely unflinching, firm. Nothing moves you out of that position. Comes from the word nishtha, just unmovable. So simply from doing that, serving the devotees and reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day, you get to that point. And why is that important? Why is it important to have that unflinching faith and performing that service to the devotees to Lord Shri Krishna? Because it is He who's going to give us the intelligence, as he says, by which we'll go to Him. And he talks about the ultimate goal of human life What's the ultimate goal of human life? I'm talking about life, not talking about soul and the love of Krishna. But having achieved this human life, what's the ultimate goal? Sorry? To serve Krishna? Okay, where I was going was, I was thinking in terms of end of life. So again, Shukdev Goswami says, Ante Narayani Smriti. The ultimate goal of everything we're doing, so at the time of death, at the moment of death, you can remember Lord Krishna. Then the question becomes, so how do you do that? A lot of people will say, oh, I can have all the fun I want. At the moment of death, I'll just think of Krishna and I'll be there. In like flint. In Golok Vrindavana. Doesn't work. So Lord Krishna says, I know you guys don't know how to do that. So I know you're going to be engaged in all your business. How to do that? So in Bhagavad Gita he says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmarjita. So get engaged in your everyday affairs. This whole place is a battlefield. We're fighting against Maya. We're all engaged in that battle. So fight that battle. Whether that means your job, whether that means taking care of your family, whether that means taking care of your investments or your real estate, whatever. Do whatever it is you're doing. But do remembering me in what way? When you remember Krishna, it's just we saying, okay, Krishna, 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 which is fine. But that won't work. What we have to remember is Krishna is the proprietor of everything that exists. Isha vasasidam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam. Everything. So therefore, whatever we get, ten taktena bhunjitam. Whatever we get is been assigned by him. Good results, bad results, big results, small results, it doesn't matter. And imagine the life when we have that kind of faith that no matter what we are doing, the result is up to Krishna. Whatever he gives us is his mercy, and his mercy cannot be bad, therefore I accept. I accept in what mood? In a grateful mood. Extremely grateful for everything Krishna has given us. A very close friend of mine had a stroke almost a year ago. Very smart, very brilliant person. He can't speak, he can't move his hands, feet, now only his neck up moves. But he can't speak. Very suddenly it happened. So let's be grateful Krishna has given us eyes that work, ears that work, nose that works, hands and feet that work. Let's be grateful for whatever we have, a house or a car, a job, a business or whatever. Let's be grateful. Especially on a day like today when we are remembering a wonderful soul that passed away. And Mataji, being a wonderful devotee, has got us together to remember Krishna, to talk about Krishna, to hear the name of Krishna, to perform one of the nine processes, or the two of the nine processes of devotional service. And the third will start, I can see the Shank and the Arti trace, I guess that will start again. Getting us engaged in the service of Krishna. Because that's what it's all about. Serve we will. Why? Because that's our nature. Our inherent nature is to serve. Jiva Swarupa, Krishna. That's how we can choose to serve the nation, the community, the family, or somebody else. Or we can choose to serve Krishna. I remember, and I apologize for doing a mundane example, but there was a movie whose name I cannot remember, it was 15, 20 years ago. Man, his wife dies, his son is in USA, this is a story in India. Son doesn't care about the family. Eventually one day he shows up, say, just make sure that my father leaves everything to me. He comes to India, he finds that his father has a girlfriend. Now he's really worried that all his property will go to his father's girlfriend. So he declares his father in the court to be insane, so that he can no longer be in possession of all the property he has, and is forced to write everything in the name of his son. Now son is very happy. The father now decides to leave the house. Now son feels a little bit bad, so he says, my dear father, you don't have to leave this house, you can live here. And the father said, you had two choices. You could have chosen me, in which case you will have me, and the property. You chose the property, you can keep it, you not have a father anymore. That's the choice we have. Let's make that choice. Do we want Krishna and everything Krishna wants or decides to give us? Or do we want everything that we think we want, irregardless of what Krishna wants? And then see what happens. It's like people going after Lakshmi without Vishnu. Lakshmi doesn't want to stay with Lakshmi without Vishnu. So they call Lakshmi Chanchal. She's fickle-minded. No. Get Vishnu. And if he decides, he'll give you Lakshmi as well. Many examples of extremely rich devotees. Then you have Vishnu and Lakshmi. Of course, in that case, you use Lakshmi only for the service of Vishnu, but that's fine too. So anyway, the point is, it's a day like this when we should spend some time thinking about how we're living our life. How do we want to live the rest of our life? Hari bol. Okay. So the point is, how do we want to spend the rest of our life? Again, so coming back to the point Shukdev Goswami has made, so let's spend the rest of the life preparing for that last day. So that on the last day we will remember Lord Krishna. Which means preparation, which means training, which means all those things that I just talked about, devotee association, constantly remembering Krishna, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with the devotees, serving the devotees. If you do that, then it comes to a point where there's no reason why we will not think of Krishna at the moment. That's because that's all we've been thinking about every moment of our life. If you accept everything we have as Krishna's, if we accept everything that happens in this world as Krishna's plan, if we accept everything that's going to happen in the future as Krishna's plan, if everything is belonging to Krishna, there is no reason why we wouldn't think of Krishna at the moment of death. Because as it says, even death is Krishna. So even if you're facing death in the face, if you say, oh, that's Krishna, then there's no problem. That's why non-devotees are afraid of death. A devotee welcomes it. That's okay. Come take me. Wherever I go. Swarga, Apvarga, Narkeshu, Tulyartha Darshana. As Lord Shiva told Parvati. For a devotee, it doesn't matter. It's in the hell, heaven, material world, spiritual world, doesn't matter. To him, it's all the same. Why? Because they are Narayana. To them, everything is Krishna. Everything is about Krishna. Everything is for Krishna. Everything is in the service of Krishna. So much difference. So because I was told only 15 minutes, I think my 15 minutes are over. So I will ask you just stand with me one time and then we stop. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
काम का बड़ा जबरदस्त कर दिया प्रभु।